Ambassador Julie Watson had been dreading this conversation for 3 weeks. As humanity's chief diplomatic representative to the Galactic Council, she had access to information that most humans never learned. When Dr. Amy Foster's investigation team requested a meeting to discuss their findings about the extinct alien species, Julie knew it was time to reveal truths that had been hidden for 2 centuries. Julie met with the investigation team in a secure conference room deep beneath the Federal Archive. Captain Jake Morrison had returned from the debris field with additional evidence. Dr. Amy Foster had completed her historical research. Senator Paul Davis had reviewed all the classified documents. Admiral Steve Clark had provided his testimony about the military operations. Now they needed to understand why this information had been buried so deeply. "What you've discovered is accurate," Julie began, her voice heavy with the weight of secrets she had carried for decades. "But you need to understand the broader context before you decide what to do with this knowledge." Julie explained that other alien species throughout the galaxy were well aware of humanity's capacity for absolute genocide, even though most humans had forgotten it themselves. The story of the child hunters served as the ultimate deterrent against harming humans. But it was a deterrent that worked precisely because it remained largely hidden from human consciousness. "When I attend Galactic Council meetings," Julie continued, "I sometimes notice how other species react when humans are discussed. There's a certain caution, a careful politeness that goes beyond normal diplomatic courtesy. They're not afraid of our current military power or our technology. They're afraid of what we might become again if someone pushes us too far." Dr. Ray Turner, a xenopsychologist who had joined the investigation team, had been studying how the genocide had affected humanity's relationships with other species. Ray's research showed that the complete extinction of the child hunters had fundamentally changed how the galaxy viewed humans. Before the war, humans had been seen as just another spacefaring species, younger and less advanced than many others, but basically similar in their motivations and limitations. After the war, other species realized that humans possessed a capacity for methodical vengeance that no other known species could match. Ray had interviewed representatives from dozens of alien civilizations, using his diplomatic immunity to ask questions that normally wouldn't be permitted. What he learned was that many species maintained detailed studies of human psychology specifically to avoid triggering the kind of response that had destroyed the child hunters. Other species have developed entire academic fields devoted to understanding what they call human threshold behaviors, Ray explained to the team. They study our history, our culture, our emotional responses, all to make sure they never accidentally cross whatever line the child hunters crossed. One of the most revealing interviews had been with an elderly diplomat from the Centauri Federation. This individual had been present at the Galactic Council when the first reports of human military buildup had arrived 2 centuries ago. The diplomat described how other species had initially assumed humans were preparing for some kind of territorial expansion or resource conflict. No one understood what was actually happening until it was too late to intervene, the Centauri diplomat had explained. By the time we realized that humans were conducting a War Commander Thexval watched in growing terror as the human ships continued to phase in and out of normal space around his fleet. The Zephyrian weapons could not lock onto targets that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, and his perfectly organized armada was falling into chaos. This was supposed to be an easy conquest, but nothing was going according to plan. "Recalibrate all sensors to detect quantum signatures," Thexval ordered desperately. "There must be a way to target these dimensional ghosts." His science officer worked frantically at the controls, but the readings made no sense. War Commander, our sensors show the human ships existing in 17 different dimensional phases at once. They appear to be using the quantum vacuum itself as a transportation medium. Thexval felt his confidence crumbling as he realized the humans had mastered technology that his advanced civilization had never even imagined. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered dozens of worlds by building better weapons and stronger shields, but humanity had taken a completely different path. They had learned to manipulate the fundamental forces that held reality together. Captain Sandra Blake materialized the Defiant Spirit directly above the alien flagship and prepared to demonstrate the next level of human technological achievement. Her ship's quantum manipulation systems were operating at peak efficiency, and she was ready to show the aliens what happened when someone learned to break the laws of physics. Initialize gravitational wave generators. Blake ordered her weapons. Officer, target the enemy command ship with a localized space-time distortion. Let them experience what happens when gravity becomes a weapon. The Defiant Spirit began generating artificial gravitational waves that rippled through space like invisible tsunami. The alien flagship suddenly found itself caught in a gravity well that pulled in multiple directions at once. The crystalline hull began to crack under impossible stresses as space itself twisted around the vessel. Thexval gripped his command chair as his ship was torn apart by forces he could not comprehend. Emergency power to structural integrity. Fields, he shouted over the sound of rending metal. How are they manipulating gravity itself? But the Zephyrians had no defense against weapons that attacked the fabric of reality. Their energy shields were designed to deflect plasma and particle beams, not gravitational distortions that made space itself become the enemy. The flagship's hull continued to buckle under the impossible stress. Commander Kevin Hayes took the quantum strike even further into impossible territory by demonstrating humanity's mastery over temporal mechanics. His ship suddenly appeared to exist in several different time streams simultaneously, allowing him to attack the same target from multiple moments in time. Temporal displacement field active, Hayes reported to Admiral Harrison. We are now existing, in past, present, and future, simultaneously. The aliens cannot predict our movements because we are moving through time, as well as space. The alien gunners tried to track the human ship but found themselves shooting at positions where it had been, will be or might be, rather than where it actually was. The quantum strike seemed to dance through time itself, avoiding every attack while striking back with weapons that hit before they were fired. Dr. Michelle Turner monitored the battle from her research station and felt amazed that her theories were actually working in combat. She had spent years developing mathematical models for quantum manipulation and dimensional travel, but seeing them used in battle was both thrilling and terrifying. All experimental systems are performing beyond calculated parameters, Turner reported. The quantum foam manipulation is allowing our ships to exist in superposition while maintaining coherent matter interaction. We are literally rewriting physics. In real time, Admiral Harrison coordinated the human fleet from his command station and marveled at what he was witnessing. 12 human ships were tearing apart an alien armada of 500 vessels using technology that seemed like magic. The aliens had superior numbers and conventional firepower, but humanity had learned to cheat reality itself. Phase displacement. Generators to maximum output, Harrison ordered. Show them what happens when humans refuse to accept the limitations of normal physics. Captain Tony Martinez aboard the Unstoppable Force demonstrated the most devastating human capability yet by initiating a quantum cascade reaction that turned the aliens' own energy weapons against them. His ship created a dimensional mirror that reflected incoming plasma bolts back through folded space to strike the ships that had fired them. The Zephyrian fleet found themselves under attack from their own weapons as plasma bolts emerged from impossible angles to strike their hulls. Ships that fired forward found their shots hitting them from behind, while vessels that aimed up discovered their beams coming down from above. The laws of cause and effect seemed to have broken down completely. Impossible, Thexval whispered as he watched his fleet destroy itself with reflected weapon fire. Energy cannot travel backward through time to strike its point of origin. But the humans had learned that time was not the rigid structure that other species believed it to be. Past, present, and future were just different perspectives on the same. Quantum events and skilled manipulation could make effects precede their causes. The Zephyrians were experiencing warfare beyond their comprehension. Commander Beth Rogers coordinated a space-time compression wave from her ship that literally crushed enemy vessels into artificial singularities. The technique involved collapsing the quantum foam that separated normal matter from the vacuum of space, causing alien ships to implode into microscopic black holes. Compression wave initiated, Rogers reported as she watched Zephyrian vessels vanish from normal space. Enemy ships are being compressed beyond their event horizons. They still exist, but not in any dimension the aliens can access. The alien fleet was disappearing ship by ship as humanity demonstrated technological mastery that seemed impossible. Vessels that had conquered worlds were being erased from existence, or trapped in temporal loops, or crushed into points smaller than atoms. The mighty Zephyrian armada was falling apart under assault from weapons that attacked reality itself. Thexval realized that he was witnessing the destruction of his entire civilization's military might by a species his intelligence had called primitive. The humans were not using bigger guns or stronger shields, they were using the universe itself as their weapon. Every fundamental force was under their control. Emergency retreat, Thexval ordered in desperation. All ships fall back beyond the system boundary immediately. But retreat was impossible because the humans had learned to manipulate space in ways that made distance meaningless. Ships trying to flee found themselves pulled back by artificial gravity wells or trapped in dimensional loops that led nowhere. There was no escape from weapons that could strike through folded space and compressed time. Captain Jake Peterson brought the Liberty's Edge alongside the alien flagship and prepared to demonstrate the ultimate expression of human technological achievement. His ship began generating a cascade effect that would unravel the quantum structure holding the enemy vessel together at the subatomic level. Quantum dissolution field active, Peterson announced. We are literally erasing their molecular bonds and returning their matter to the vacuum state. The ship will cease to exist in any meaningful way. The alien flagship began to fade like smoke as its atoms lost cohesion and returned to the quantum foam. Thexval felt his own body becoming transparent as the dissolution field spread through his vessel. He was not dying in any conventional sense, but ceasing to exist as organized matter. "What are you?" Thexval transmitted desperately as his ship dissolved around him. "What manner of beings have we encountered?" Captain Peterson heard the alien commander's final question and decided to answer honestly. "We are human," he replied simply, "and we learned long ago that the universe has no rules that cannot be broken by those who understand them well enough." The alien flagship completed its dissolution and vanished from normal space, leaving only empty vacuum where a mighty warship had once existed. The Zephyrian Empire's most powerful vessel had been unmade at the quantum level and scattered across 17 dimensions simultaneously. Admiral Harrison watched the tactical display as the last alien ships were eliminated by weapons that seemed to violate every known law of physics. In less than a minute, humanity had destroyed a fleet that had conquered dozens of worlds. The secret was not superior firepower, but superior understanding of reality itself. The battle was almost over, but the implications were just beginning. Word of humanity's victory would spread across the galaxy, and every alien civilization would have to reconsider what they thought they knew about the small blue planet in the outer spiral arm. The 12-hour deadline had passed, and War Commander Thexaval stood on his bridge watching Earth grow larger on the viewing screen. No surrender message had come from the primitive planet, which meant the humans had chosen destruction over submission. This would be quick and decisive like all his previous conquests. "All ships report ready for battle," his tactical officer announced. "Plasma cannons are charged and shields are at maximum power. The human defense fleet has taken position near their orbital stations." Thexaval smiled with cold satisfaction as he studied the human formation. 12 small ships against 500 Zephyrian warships was not even a fair fight. The humans were either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid, but either way, they would be dead within the hour. "Begin the demonstration strike," Thexaval ordered. "Target their largest military installation with a precision plasma burst. Show them what happens to species that refuse our generous offer." The alien fleet moved forward in perfect formation, with their crystalline hulls reflecting the light from Earth's sun. Each ship was a work of art and a weapon of mass destruction combined into one deadly package. The Zephyrians had spent centuries perfecting their war machines, and no enemy had ever withstood their assault. On Earth, people watched the sky through telescopes and camera feeds as the alien armada approached. The ships were visible now as bright points of light moving against the star field. Fear and desperation filled the air as humanity prepared to witness its own destruction. But Admiral Harrison was not planning to go down without a fight. From his command station on New Horizon, he watched the tactical displays and waited for the right moment to reveal humanity's true capabilities. The aliens thought they were facing primitive savages, but they were about to learn how wrong they could be. "All ships maintain defensive formation," Harrison ordered through the communication network. "Wait for my signal before engaging experimental systems. We get one chance to surprise them, so make it count." Captain Jake Peterson guided the Liberty's edge toward the center of the human formation. His ship looked ordinary from the outside with standard hull plating and conventional weapon mounts. But hidden inside was technology that even most humans did not understand, and the aliens could never have imagined. "Chief Engineer Walker," Jake called out. "How are our exotic matter systems?" Danny Walker checked his readings from the engineering section and smiled grimly. "All quantum manipulation systems are online, Captain. The space-time distortion field generators are ready, and the dimensional phase shifters are calibrated. We can bend reality whenever you give the word." Jake nodded and felt a strange mixture of fear and excitement. Humanity was about to test theories that had seemed impossible just a few years ago. If their calculations were wrong, they would all die, but if they were right, the aliens were in for the shock of their lives. The Zephyrian fleet reached optimal firing range, and Thexaval gave the order to demonstrate their power. A single plasma bolt erupted from his flagship and streaked toward what appeared to be Earth's primary military complex. The beam had enough energy to melt a mountain and would show the humans exactly what they were facing. The plasma bolt struck its target and created a massive explosion that could be seen from orbit. Smoke and fire rose into the atmosphere while Chunks of debris scattered across the landscape. But Thexaval frowned as he studied the damage reports because something was not right about what he was seeing. "War, Commander," his science officer reported with confusion in his voice. "The target appears to have been a decoy facility. Our sensors detect no significant military equipment or personnel casualties. The humans somehow knew we would target that location." Thexaval felt the first stirring of doubt about this easy conquest. The humans had anticipated his demonstration and prepared a fake target to absorb the attack. This suggested a level of tactical thinking that primitive species were not supposed to possess. But before he could analyze this development further, the human fleet began moving toward his armada in what appeared to be a desperate charge. The 12 small ships accelerated to their maximum speed and headed straight for the center of the Zephyrian formation. It looked like a suicide attack by desperate defenders. "Foolish primitives," Thexval muttered as he watched the human ships approach. "They think courage can overcome superior technology. Prepare to destroy them all with minimal effort." The alien weapon systems locked onto the approaching human vessels and prepared to fire. Hundreds of plasma cannons swiveled toward their targets while energy shields hummed with power. The Zephyrians expected this battle to last less than a minute, but Captain Sandra Blake aboard the command ship Defiant Spirit was preparing to show the aliens something they had never seen before. Her ship looked like a standard human cruiser, but it contained the most advanced quantum manipulation system ever built. She was about to demonstrate why humanity had taken a different path in their technological development. "All ships prepare for quantum phase displacement," Blake announced over the tactical network. "On my mark, we show them what humans can really do." The human ships continued their charge toward the alien fleet while plasma bolts began firing in their direction. But something impossible happened as the energy beams reached their targets. The human ships simply faded out of normal space like ghosts, becoming transparent and letting the alien weapons pass harmlessly through them. Lieutenant Commander Amy Phillips coordinated the phase displacement from her position on the tactical network. She had spent years learning how to manipulate the quantum vacuum that existed between normal matter. Now she was using that knowledge to let human ships step outside of reality itself. "Phase displacement successful," Phillips reported. "All ships are now existing in quantum superposition. Enemy weapons cannot target us while we exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously." The Zephyrian gunners stared in shock as their plasma bolts passed through empty space where the human ships had been just moments before. Their sensors could still detect the human vessels, but they appeared to be existing in several different locations at the same time. "What is happening?" Thexval demanded as he watched his perfect formation begin to waver. "How are they avoiding our weapons?" His science officer frantically checked the sensor readings, but found no explanation for what they were seeing. "War Commander, the human ships appear to be using some form of dimensional manipulation. They are existing in normal space and folded space simultaneously." Thexval felt cold fear creeping into his thoughts as he realized this was not going according to plan. The humans were using technology that defied everything the Zephyrians understood about physics. How could a primitive species master dimensional travel when the mighty Empire had never even attempted it? Commander Kevin Hayes demonstrated the next phase of humanity's impossible technology as his ship Quantum Strike suddenly materialized inside the alien formation. One moment it was approaching from outside the fleet, and the next moment it was surrounded by Zephyrian warships with its weapons trained on their hulls. "Impossible," Thexval whispered as he watched a human ship appear where no ship should be able to exist. They cannot move through solid matter without destroying themselves. But the humans had learned to do exactly that by manipulating the quantum foam that existed at the smallest levels of reality. While the aliens had built bigger guns, humanity had learned to rewrite the rules of space and time. The two approaches to technology were about to clash in ways that neither side had ever imagined. Dr. Michelle Turner watched the battle from her research station Darwin's Legacy and felt a mixture of pride and terror as her theoretical work became devastating reality. She had spent decades studying the mathematics of quantum mechanics and dimensional physics. Now, those equations were being used to fight for the survival of human civilization. All quantum displacement systems are functioning within normal parameters, Turner reported to Admiral Harrison. The enemy cannot target our ships while they exist in superposition, but we can still interact with normal matter when we choose to do so. Harrison nodded as he watched the tactical display show human ships materializing throughout the alien formation like deadly apparitions. The Zephyrians were trying to reorganize their fleet, but they could not fight an enemy that could appear anywhere without warning. War Commander Thexval realized with growing horror that his intelligence had been completely wrong about human capabilities. These were not primitive beings with crude weapons. They were a species that had mastered forces his empire never knew existed. The mighty Zephyrian fleet was facing technology beyond their comprehension. All ships fall back to defensive positions, Thexval ordered as panic began to spread through his fleet. Recalculate our weapons to target quantum signatures instead of normal matter, but it was already too late because humanity was just getting started with their demonstration of impossible physics. The alien fleet had been moving toward Earth for 6 hours when War Commander Thexval decided it was time to make contact. He stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the primitive planet growing larger on his screen. Soon the humans would learn what it meant to face the power of the Zephyrian Empire. Open communication channels to the planet. Thexval ordered his communications officer. Broadcast on all frequencies so every human can hear our message. The Zephyrian communication systems were far more advanced than anything humans had ever built. Within seconds, their signal was reaching every radio, television, and computer on Earth. People all over the world stopped what they were doing as an alien voice began speaking in perfect English through their devices. Primitive beings of the third planet. Thexval began in a cold, mechanical voice. I am War Commander Thexval of the Zephyrian Empire. Your world has been selected for incorporation into our domain. You have exactly 12 hours to surrender unconditionally. The alien commander paused to let his words sink in before continuing. We have conquered 47 star systems and enslaved countless species. Your primitive technology cannot stand against our might. Surrender now, and we will allow some of you to live as servants. Resist, and we will destroy your entire civilization. To emphasize his point, Thexval ordered his ship to transmit images of previous conquests. Humans around the world watched in horror as their screens showed burning cities on distant planets and alien warships destroying entire fleets. The message was clear and terrifying. You have 12 hours, Thexval concluded. Use this time wisely. The transmission ended, leaving Earth in stunned silence. Then panic began to spread as people realized that alien invaders were really here and demanding surrender. News channels went into emergency mode while government leaders tried to maintain calm and order. In the underground command center, President Amanda Clark felt the weight of the entire world on her shoulders. Every decision she made in the next Few hours could determine whether humanity survived or became extinct. The alien ultimatum was playing on repeat across every news network, and people were starting to panic in the streets. "We need to evacuate the major cities," General Brooks said as he studied tactical reports. "If those alien ships can destroy entire worlds, our population centers are sitting ducks." Dr. Helen Carter disagreed with the military approach. She believed that communication was still possible and that humanity should try to negotiate before resorting to violence. The aliens might be reasonable if humans could prove they were intelligent and civilized. "We should respond to their message," Dr. Carter argued. "Show them our art, our music, our achievements. Maybe they will see that humanity deserves to exist as equals rather than slaves." "They already told us what they think of our achievements," General Brooks replied. "They called us primitive and threatened to destroy our civilization. These are conquerors, not diplomats." President Clark listened to both arguments while watching the alien fleet continue its steady approach toward Earth. The ships were now close, enough for detailed scans, and the results were not encouraging. Each alien vessel was heavily armed and protected by energy shields that seemed impossible to penetrate. Meanwhile, Captain Lisa Rodriguez was preparing her stealth ship for the most dangerous mission of her career. The Shadow Walker was designed to be invisible to enemy sensors, and she had been ordered to get as close to the alien fleet as possible. Admiral Harrison needed detailed intelligence about alien technology before any battle began. "Remember Rodriguez," Admiral Harrison said over the communication channel. "Stay hidden and gather as much data as you can. We need to know what we are facing." Lisa nodded as she guided her ship away from the orbital station. The Shadow Walker was equipped with the most advanced cloaking technology that humans had ever developed. She could get close enough to scan the alien ships without being detected, but one mistake would mean certain death. As Lisa approached the alien fleet, she was amazed by what she saw. The Zephyrian ships were beautiful in their own way, with crystalline hulls that seemed to glow with inner light. They moved in perfect formation like a deadly dance through space. But Lisa was not here to admire alien art, she was here to find weaknesses. Her ship's sensors began analyzing the energy signatures from the alien vessels. The results were both encouraging and terrifying. The aliens had powerful plasma weapons that could vaporize most known materials. Their shields could deflect tremendous amounts of energy, and their hulls appeared to be nearly indestructible. But Lisa noticed something important about the alien technology. Everything they had built seemed to follow conventional physics. Their weapons used plasma. Their shields deflected energy, and their engines created thrust through reaction mass. They were advanced, but they were not breaking any fundamental laws of science. Shadow Walker to Admiral Harrison. Lisa transmitted on a secure channel. "I have completed initial scans of the alien fleet. They are powerful, but their technology follows predictable patterns. Sending detailed analysis now." Admiral Harrison received Lisa's report and immediately shared it with the Global Defense Command. The information was crucial, but also revealed just how outmatched humanity appeared to be. The alien ships had weapons that could destroy cities and defenses that seemed impossible to breach. But Harrison had been keeping a secret from most of the world. Earth's 12 defense ships were not just advanced, they were equipped with technology that even most military leaders did not know about. Humanity had made breakthroughs in physics that no other species had achieved, and soon they would have a chance to test those discoveries. Commander Ryan Phillips was coordinating Earth's orbital defense grid from a hidden command station. Most people thought the grid consisted of simple railgun platforms and missile launchers. They had no idea that humanity had built weapons based on theories that most scientists thought were impossible. All defense platforms report ready, Phillips announced to Admiral Harrison. The quantum torpedo networks are armed and the exotic matter manipulators are online. We are as ready as we will ever be. Back on the alien flagship, War Commander Thexaval was reviewing intelligence reports about human military capabilities. His scouts had identified Earth's defense fleet and orbital weapons, but the readings confused him. The human technology seemed both primitive and strangely advanced at the same time. War Commander, his science officer reported, the human ships appear to use fusion reactors and chemical thrusters. Very basic technology by our standards. But some of their energy signatures do not match any known physics. Thexaval dismissed the concern with a wave of his hand. Censor. Errors or primitive attempts at advanced technology. No species develops faster than light travel without first mastering plasma weapons and energy shields. These humans are clearly in the early stages of technological development. The alien commander was making the same mistake that had doomed many species before him. He assumed that all civilizations followed the same path of technological progress. The idea that humanity might have taken a completely different route never entered his mind. As the 12-hour deadline approached, both sides prepared for what seemed inevitable. The aliens arranged their fleet in attack formation while human ships took defensive positions around Earth. News reporters counted down the hours while families around the world said what they thought might be their final goodbyes. Dr. Carter made one last attempt at communication, sending a message to the alien fleet that contained examples of human art, music, and literature. She hoped that showing the beauty of human culture might change the aliens' minds about destroying civilization. The message reached Thexaval, but he barely glanced at it before deleting it from his systems. Primitive cultural displays, he told his officers. Exactly what we expected from a species that has not yet learned its place in the galaxy. President Clark spent the final hours reviewing evacuation plans and emergency protocols. If the battle went badly, humanity would need to survive underground until they could rebuild. She had faith in Admiral Harrison and the defense fleet, but she also had to prepare for the worst possible outcome. Captain Jake Peterson ran final checks on the Liberty's edge while his crew prepared for combat. Everyone knew they were facing impossible odds, but nobody spoke about surrender. The human spirit refused to give up even when facing certain destruction. All systems ready, Captain, his chief engineer reported. The exotic matter core is stable, and all quantum displacement systems are online. Jake nodded and looked out at the stars where the alien fleet waited. In a few hours, humanity would learn whether their unconventional approach to physics would be enough to save them. The next battle would determine not just who controlled Earth, but which species truly understood the nature of reality itself. Admiral Kyle Harrison stood in the command center of the orbital defense station New Horizon and watched the endless stars through the massive viewing window. The morning shift had just begun and the usual quiet hum of computers filled the air around him. Kyle had been watching over Earth's defenses for 12 years, and nothing ever happened out here. Most days were boring and peaceful, which was exactly how he liked it. Communications officer Lisa Martinez sat at her console running the daily deep space scans. Her job was to watch for anything unusual beyond the solar system, but she had never found anything interesting. The screen showed the same empty space it always did, with just distant stars and cosmic dust floating in the darkness. Lisa yawned and took another sip of her coffee while the scanners did their work. Then everything changed in a single moment. The scanner screen suddenly filled with bright red warning signals, and loud alarms started ringing throughout the station. Lisa stared at her display in shock as hundreds of energy signatures appeared at the edge of the solar system near Jupiter. The readings were massive and unlike anything she had ever seen before. "Admiral Harrison," Lisa called out in a shaky voice. "You need to see this right now." Kyle rushed over to her console and looked at the screen. His face went pale as he saw what the scanners had found. More than 500 unknown objects had just appeared out of nowhere in their solar system. The energy readings showed they were artificial ships, and they were huge. "Are you sure this is real?" Kyle asked, even though he could see the evidence right in front of him. "The computers have run the scan 3 times, Lisa replied. "They are definitely there, and they are definitely not ours." Kyle felt his heart racing as he realized what this meant. For the first time in human history, alien ships had come to Earth. He had trained for this possibility but never really believed it would happen. Now he had to make decisions that could affect the survival of the entire human race. "Send an emergency alert to Global Defense Command," Kyle ordered. "Tell them we have contact with unknown alien vessels. Get me President Clark on the secure. Channel immediately." Lisa's fingers flew across her keyboard as she sent out the alerts. Within minutes, every major military base on Earth would know about the alien fleet. Kyle looked back at the scanner readings and felt a chill run down his spine. The alien ships were arranged in perfect formation and moving slowly toward the inner solar system. Captain Jake Peterson was running maintenance checks on his ship when the emergency alert reached him. The Liberty's Edge was humanity's newest and most advanced warship, though few people knew just how advanced it really was. Jake had been chosen to command this experimental vessel because of his quick thinking and ability to stay calm under pressure. "Captain," his communications officer called out, "we have an emergency deployment order from Admiral Harrison. All ships are to prepare for immediate launch." Jake felt his stomach tighten as he read the message. Alien contact was the one scenario that every military officer hoped would never happen. He had studied the protocols, but training was very different from the real thing. "How long until we can launch?" Jake asked his chief engineer. "Give me 20 minutes to finish the power core." "Calibration," came the reply. "Then we will be ready for anything." Jake nodded and began reviewing the tactical data that was streaming in from the orbital sensors. The alien fleet was enormous, and their ships appeared to be made of some kind of crystalline material that reflected light in strange ways. Each ship was roughly the size of a human cruiser, but their design was completely foreign. Meanwhile, far out in space near Jupiter, the alien fleet continued its steady advance toward Earth. War Commander Thex Val stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the small blue planet growing larger on his viewing screen. This would be his 48th conquest, and he expected it to be the easiest one yet. Thex Val was a member of the Zephyrian Empire, which had been expanding across the galaxy for over a century. His species looked somewhat like tall, thin humans, but with pale blue skin and large black eyes that never seemed to blink. The Zephyrians believed they were the superior race in the galaxy, and it was their destiny to rule over all other forms of life. "War Commander," his intelligence officer reported. "Our scans of the planet show a primitive civilization with basic nuclear technology. They have crude chemical rockets and simple weapons. This should require minimal effort." Thex Val smiled with satisfaction. The Zephyrians had developed advanced plasma weapons and energy shields over thousands of years of warfare. Their ships could destroy entire cities with a single blast, and their shields could stop any known weapon. A primitive species like humanity would surrender immediately once they saw the power of the Zephyrian fleet. "Prepare the standard surrender demand," Thexval ordered. "Give them the usual terms: complete submission or total destruction. Most species choose submission once they understand what they are facing." Back on Earth, President Amanda Clark was being rushed to the Emergency Command Center deep beneath the White House. The reports from Admiral Harrison were almost impossible to believe, but the evidence was clear. Humanity was about to face its greatest challenge, and they had very little time to prepare. General Peter Brooks was already waiting in the command center when the president arrived. He was a tall man with gray hair who had spent his entire career preparing for different types of war, but never this type. The wall screen showed images of the alien fleet captured by long-range telescopes, and the sight was both magnificent and terrifying. "What are our options, General?" President Clark asked as she took her seat at the command table. "We have 12 ships in our defense fleet," General Brooks replied. "They are our most advanced vessels, but we have no idea how they compare to alien technology. Admiral Harrison is coordinating our response from the orbital station." Dr. Helen Carter entered the command center carrying a tablet full of data about the alien ships. She was Earth's leading expert on theoretical alien life and had spent years wondering what first contact might look like. Now she was living through it, and the reality was more frightening than any of her theories. "Madam President," Dr. Carter said, "I recommend we attempt to establish communication before taking any military action. This could be a peaceful exploration mission rather than an invasion force." General Brooks shook his head. "A peaceful mission would not bring 500 warships. These aliens are here to conquer us, and we need to be ready to fight." President Clark looked at the images of the alien fleet and tried to imagine what the commanders of those ships were thinking. Did they see humanity as a threat or just another primitive species to be conquered? Either way, she knew that the next few hours would determine the future of human civilization. The alien ships continued their slow advance toward Earth, while both sides prepared for what was to come. Neither the humans nor the aliens truly understood what they were about to face. The Zephyrians thought they were dealing with primitive savages, while the humans had no idea of the advanced technology heading their way. But humanity had one advantage that the aliens could never have expected, while other species had focused on building bigger weapons and stronger armor. Humans had taken a completely different path. They had learned to bend the laws of physics themselves, and soon the entire galaxy would discover what that really meant.